app and use code SAS to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. I smell bullshit.
A couple teams that I won't allow him to play for. This is my profession. I know what's behind the curtain. We ain't got to get back there for me to understand what's not prominent for my son. I'm not doing it.
And if he doesn't listen to you?
Who? No, you must mean owners.
If you ain't trying to change the franchise or the coach, then don't give me. So you should know history repeats itself over and over and over. And I've done it over and over and over. So it should be no question why an NFL franchise should pick me. You think I'm worried about what critics say or what people got to say? You know who my dad is? They hated on him too. So it's like it's almost normal. Without people hating, it's not normal for us. So we like the adversity. We like everything that comes with the name. That's why we are who we are.
That's what I smell. I smell it. And as we can see, my nose is pretty large. Even though I got allergies, I can still smell well enough. I know what I'm smelling when I'm smelling it. Shedeur Sanders, 5th round pick. Really? Stepen A Smith show in the house. Let's roll. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this special edition of the Stepen A Smith Show, coming at you over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. I'm getting right into it because I'm off on this particular Saturday, but I had to make sure I let my thoughts be known, okay? Because we're going to get started with the story that made headlines all over, all the sports networks overnight, and then some. And that was the NFL draft and the precipitous slide of quarterback Shedeur Sanders, son of primetime Deion Sanders, who many considered the second best quarterback in January. Sanders was just picked by the Cleveland Browns as the 144th selection of the 5th round overall. Shedeur wasn't drafted in round 1 on Thursday. He wasn't drafted on Friday during rounds 2 and 3, and teams passed on him again earlier this afternoon in round 4. So here's a look at all the quarterbacks that have been taken so far. Cam Ward went number 1 overall at Tennessee. Then the Giants picked Jackson Dart with the 25th overall pick, a pick they moved up to get, by the way. They moved up to get that pick. Round 2 began last night, and the first quarterback taken was Tyler Shuck, who went to the New Orleans Saints with the 40th overall pick. Then in round 3 to Seattle, the Seahawks took Jalen Milroe from Alabama with the 92nd overall pick. And then 2 picks later, the Cleveland Browns selected Dillon Gabriel with the 94th overall pick in the 3rd round. And there were no more quarterbacks taken on Friday. So those are the 5 quarterbacks that went ahead of Shedeur Sanders. And before I give you my feelings on this, I want to show you the 5 quarterbacks the Browns now have on their roster. The quarterback room now includes Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, the aforementioned Dillon Gabriel, Deshaun Watson, who is injured with his Achilles tear, and of course now Shedeur Sanders. Ladies and gentlemen, you know it's bad when the president of the United States, Donald Trump, is pushing out tweets about how corrupt it is. I mean, think about that. President Donald Trump is pulling out tweets about how corrupt it is and how these owners look at.
Lord knows we're in a position where we got to agree with Donald Trump on something. Donald Trump is saying it's a shame what they're doing with Deion Sanders saying. Are we in the upside down? What is going on right now?
Absolutely stupid or ill-advised. And I don't know about y'all, but I want y'all to listen before I get into it to my man Mel Kiper Jr. of ESPN, who is going off about Shedeur Sanders being snubbed because he had Sanders as arguably the best quarterback in this draft. Listen to what this man had to say.
The NFL has been clueless for 50 years when it comes to evaluating quarterback. Clueless. No idea what they're doing in terms of evaluating quarterback. That's proof. There's proof of that. How many times say we know exactly what we're talking about with quarterback? They don't.
You heard what he had to say. Let me tell you something right now. This is some bullshit. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to say that while in the same breath conceding and acknowledging that Shedeur Sanders is not blameless here. Primetime Deion Sanders is not blameless here. I'm going to say what I have to say, knowing that both of them have their hands at least a little bit dirty in all of this. But if you're the National Football League, okay, clearly it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion. Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on him, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they
Collusion.
passed on him. How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder, and drop literally to the 5th round. We haven't seen anything like that. And when you're talking about the owners, I'm going to keep in mind, and I tweeted about this, seems very Kaepernick-like, as in Colin Kaepernick.
Ooh, I said that on the live. I said that on the live earlier on this channel, that they are giving this child, they are giving him the Colin Kaepernick treatment. I said that.
Now, I've said on many occasions the man brought it on himself, because once he was exiled from the sport because of taking a knee during the national anthem and you just irritating all the quote unquote patriots out there as American citizens, I said, you know something? He didn't violate any bylaws. He didn't violate any laws. He didn't interfere with what transpired once kickoff time arrived. People are tripping. But still in all, he had an opportunity to get back in the NFL. All he had to do was show up to that workout that the league had organized at the Atlanta Falcons practice facility, but he didn't show up to that. And as a result, 2 hours beforehand, had everybody trying to come to a high school football field 120 minutes away, 2 hours away. So guess what? You did that to yourself. That was not Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders with the watch. Shedeur Sanders with his bravado. Shedeur Sanders with this supposed arrogance or whatever. He still balled. He still threw for over 4,100 yards, still threw for 37 touchdowns, still threw for just 10 interceptions, still proved himself to be one of the better quarterbacks in football. Tremendous pause, pocket presence, accuracy, throwing the damn football. Didn't have great wheels, doesn't have great athleticism, but the brother can play. I certainly never heard of no damn Dylan Gabriel or Tyler Shock. What the hell is that?
What the hell is that? Who the hell is that?
I didn't hear about them. So how is Shedeur Sanders going behind them? I'll tell you how. It's collusion. And why do I bring up Kaepernick? Because I keep reminding everybody that the owners, I'll never forget this as long as I live. The owners in the National Football League are very big on control. And Colin Kaepernick's position really railed them. It really riled them up, irritated them, because even though they received a check for over $246 million a piece because of their TV rights deal, they were mad it wasn't 250 to 255. They blamed Colin Kaepernick. They said he compromised their bottom line. That's what they said. They got a check for $246 million a piece and was still complaining about the $5 million they missed out on because of him. In their estimation, no proof of that, just speculating that was Colin Kaepernick.
And I would dare say that wasn't really the issue. That $5 million wasn't really the issue.
So if these are who they are,
it was really how could Colin have the audacity to take the stance he did.
If these are the kind of people that they are, this is where Deion Sanders' hands get a little bit dirty. Because we know he's the greatest cornerback that ever lived. We know he's arguably the greatest athlete we've ever seen. We know that the man is a football savant. We also know that he's box office. The camera, the lens, it gravitates to him. He has that kind of magnetic effect. And because he let you know that he believed in his son, because he let you know what his son could do, because he let you know that he damn sure was going to keep an eye on things and he was going to have a voice in the proceedings, because he alluded to, if I don't like where my son is, that's not where we're going and stuff like that. It's entirely plausible that the owners were like, who the hell do you think he is?
Oh, they definitely did that. And I don't know where Stepen A is going to go next. Knowing him, he's going to go someplace I'm not going to agree with. And I think Deion can do that. He can strut and pound his chest. He can do that all day long if he wants to. Because, again, nobody had a problem with it when Arch Manning did it.
You don't run this shop, we do. Because these owners are like that. But ultimately, we got to get to Shedeur Sanders himself. Because I spoke to some executives, giving me some background, because they didn't like some of the things that they were seeing. And when they talked about it, they said stuff like him sending out tweets tagged with #legendary. They talked about him appearing to have more of an interest in his own brand, and that he thinks about that more than he thinks about the team or the league. They talked about if he was more buttoned up and all about ball and team as opposed to himself.
I call bullshit on this. This guy has been playing a team sport all these years. Clearly he is about the team. I call bullshit on this.
He would have fallen no later than number 21 in the draft to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Instead, he fell to 144, and they call it a minimum of a $30 million mistake. That's what they said. They also pointed out how it was the perfect year to come out in the quarterback class because it's the lightest, weakest quarterback class in a long time. So a late 1 pick could easily turn into a top 10 because of position and need. But that didn't happen with him because of his bravado, his brand, his swagger, etc. Now you have people talking about how he possibly should just sue the NCAA to get his eligibility back, possibly pay Ryan Day or somebody so he could throw the ball to Smith for 1 year and then re-enter the NFL draft, rather. I don't know what the possibilities or likelihood of that happening, but basically between primetime Deion Sanders' natural bravado, coupled with that of his son, they say that the whole interview process wasn't that impressive. When he showed up at the NFL scouting combine and refused to work out, that hurt him. The interview process while he was there hurt him, etc., etc. You know what, y'all? I get it.
I'm calling bullshit on all of that. Sounds like a bunch of fragile people. A lot of fragility going on here. A lot of fragility.
It makes perfect damn sense if he's drafted in the second round. It's the fact that he fell to 5th that's alarming. So in other words, you're willing to collectively send that kind of message, and don't act like it wasn't a collective effort. For all we know, teams collectively, meaning owners, had come to the conclusion nobody's going to touch him in the first 4 rounds. All right, now that the round 5 is here, our message has been sent, so y'all could go about the business of sort of lifting the embargo, for lack of a better phraseology.
That's what they did. They tried to check him. They wanted to show him and Deion who's running things around here. And that's what they did. It's clearly what they did.
I don't know what the hell happened. All I know is this. It's freaking unfair. It ain't right. I understand that Shedeur Sanders is a kid and may have some things to learn. I understand that you have to move a little bit with a little bit more discretion. That you don't want to stick out your chest and bloviate about who you are, who your daddy is, and et cetera, et cetera. I get that part. I understand that.
And how do you understand that? He really needs to say you need to not do that when you are a black person, because some of these other kids, they do that all the time. We all, in our different lives, a lot of us have been around people who will let you know who their father is, who their mother is, who their aunt whoever's in the position of authority and power or whatever, they will let you know who that person is, even if they try to do it subtly. So come on now, let's call a thing a thing.
But the kid doesn't get in any trouble. He can ball, and he's healthy. And there were numerous teams from Cleveland to New York, to New Orleans, to Pittsburgh, to LA, and various other places who needed quarterbacks. And you're going to tell me you don't take this kid until the 5th round? You're going to tell me that you're going to take a Dylan Gabriel and a Tyler Shook before him?
And it may not have even been Mike Tomlin's call for the Pittsburgh Steelers side of it. I don't know if he had any influence in that decision at all. But if he did, I've lost respect. If I ever find out he did, I'm definitely going to lose total respect for him.
You're going to tell me that? You're going to tell me that? But we want to pride ourselves on being a league of merit? To the National Football League, I'm not talking about Roger Goodell in the league office, to the owners. Do you have any idea how bad you look? Do you understand that you've given credence to arguments against you involving collusion and stuff like that, more so than ever before? Do you realize what you've done? Because his talent is not a 5th round talent. There's absolutely positively no excuse for waiting until the 5th round to take a quarterback who can play better than most quarterbacks available in the draft with the number of teams needing a quarterback. Y'all did this. And I just think it's sad that it happened. Shedeur and Shedeur were dancing after he got picked by the Browns. That was a good video to see. Go to Twitter to check out their draft celebration dance. All of that's good. And I'm glad that it hasn't shattered his spirits. And to be quite honest with you, Shedeur Sanders should be able to go into Cleveland. I mean, there's Joe Flacco there and Kenny Pickett. I think that's a job you could potentially win. But my Lord, for him to have to go through that is so wrong. And I know it's not just the owners, it's team executives, and they're micromanaging every little thing and looking at your attitude. It can't be about you. It can't be about team. How about it being about production? How about that? How about it being about a brother that knows he can play, that knows he comes from a pristine pedigree? And me personally, no matter what folks want to say about Shedeur Sanders, you're hearing noise about him having taken out some loan, assuming he was going to be drafted in the 1st round and anticipating and already counting his money and stuff like that. I'm not judging this kid like that. I don't know if that's true or not, first of all. And secondly, even if it was, so what? He's a kid. He's a young adult. Chill out. What really bothers me is that I think a lot of this was because of Deion Sanders. I think a lot of this was about a message to his father. I think a lot of this was about, hey, you'll never run this. This is us. We ain't even hire you as a coach in the National Football League. What makes you think you're gonna have that kind of say? Oh, by the way, we draft your son, and then all of a sudden we gonna hear noise turning around on how you want to coach the team eventually. We don't need that kind of problem. Yeah, that's one of the things that people could point to. Let me tell y'all what I think the other is. A complete and utter lack of appreciation for what primetime Deion Sanders has done for the game of football.
Speak on it.
Primetime Deion Sanders had more swag, more bravado than anybody you could ever imagine. What else he do? All the brother did was go out there and perform at a very, very elite level, bring pizzazz and sizzle to your product, helping it grow into this multi-billion-dollar brand. Has a great relationship with the commissioner, has a great relationship with a bevy of players and coaches in the National Football League, knows the sport backwards and forwards. And because of his swag and his bravado or whatever, y'all gonna turn against him. How about y'all should have drafted Shedeur Sanders earlier because of that alone? I'm not talking about at the expense of his skill. I know he's got to have skill. That's not what I mean. I'm saying Rather than look at all of those things as a negative, how about looking at it as a Sanders? I'm Deion Sanders. His son is going to be motivated to perform at a higher level. He is all about performing. He would be in his son's ear, imploring him to listen to his coaches, imploring him to play better, imploring him to be dedicated